Hi, this is Jill from Maths with Jill, and today we're going to look at the Pearson Edexcel Functional Skills Set 8 Maths paper, the non-calculator one. So, here's our first question. Mandy spins a fair spinner twice. The colours on the spinner are red, blue, green, orange and pink, and the table shows all the possible outcomes. Question is, what is the probability of getting the same colour on both spins? So, with probability, I like to think of how many out of the total. So, the probability of getting the same colour, let's find the ones that are the same colour. Okay, there's 5 of those. And what's our total? How many different options have we got? Well, there's 5 down there, and there's 5 across there. So our total number of options is 5 times 5, which is 25. So the answer is 5 out of 25, or you could simplify it to make it a fifth. The second question is, what is the probability of getting at least one blue in the 2 spins? So I'm now going to find the ones which have got at least one blue in. So we can go down the blue column. There's a red blue, a blue blue, a green blue, an orange blue, and a pink blue. And going across, we've got a blue red, a blue blue again, blue green, blue orange, and blue pink. And now all we have to do is count up how many of these there are. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different ones. So it's 9 out of 25. How many out of the total? And we can't simplify that. Right. Question 2. Habiba wants to make pastry by mixing butter and flour in the ratio 4 to 9. She wants to make 650 grams of pastry, and she has 425 grams of flour. Does Habiba have enough flour to make 650 grams of pastry? So, a couple of ways of doing this. I'm going to work out how much flour I would need for this amount of pastry and then compare it with how much flour she's got. So we've got butter and flour in the ratio 4 to 9. And the pastry is really a total. It's made up of the butter and flour, so we can write it over here. So we've got 650 grams. And that's made up of 4 parts butter and 9 parts flour. So 4 plus 9 is equal to 13. So we've got 13 parts altogether. So we're going to split this 650 into those 13 parts, which will give us 50 grams for each part. So she would need 4 lots of 50 of butter and 9 lots of 50 of flour. So that would be 200 grams of butter and 450 grams of flour. And the 200 and the 450 have to add up to the 650, or else you've done something wrong. So, does Habiba have enough flour to make 650 grams of pastry? No. She needs 450. She would need 450 grams. And she's only got 425. Question 3. So she's also going to make some cupcakes, and she's got this list of ingredients. So one thing to point out, this recipe makes 12 cupcakes. Okay, so we've got some flour, butter, sugar, an egg, 10.5 fluid ounces of milk, and 3 apples. But she wants to make 30 cupcakes. And here we have a conversion. So we've got a fluid ounce is 28.413 millimetres. And the question is, how much milk does she need? We're only looking at the milk to make 30 cupcakes, and we want to give the answer to the nearest millimetre. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this conversion to convert my 10 fluid ounces to millilitres. So 12 cakes, okay, would have 10.5 fluid ounces. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert that. So every fluid ounce is 28.413 millilitres. So 10.5 times 28.413. You can do it on our calculator, and that will give us 298.3365 millilitres. Okay, so that's how much she needs for 12 cakes, but we want to find out for 30. So the best way to do that is to find out how much for one cake. So to do that, we can divide our 298.3365, divide that by 12, which gives you 24.861. I don't think we need to go too crazy on the decimal places. Okay, so that is for one cake. That's how millilitres. So she needs 30 cakes, so all we have to do is take our 24.861 and times it by 30, which gives us 745.84 something. So we need to give it to the nearest milliliter, so that would be 746 millilitres, because that's an 8, so this 5 becomes a 6. Right, question 4. Callum is a plumber and he spends money on 8 different adverts. Callum has this information about the money he spent on each advert and the number of new customers from seeing the advert. We've got money spent and a number of new customers. He wants to draw a diagram to see if there's a relationship between the money he spent on each advert and the number of new customers from seeing that advert. Draw a suitable diagram. So to make this a bit easier, I have already drawn the scatter graph. So basically, what I've done is I've taken the information and I have marked it on this chart. So I've looked at my scales. So if we look at money spent first, money spent goes, the lowest is 80 and the highest is 325. So I've given myself a scale down the bottom. 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300 and 350. So that will fit. I've labelled it. Okay, very important. And then the other scale, I've looked, and the lowest I've got is 4 and the highest is 23. So I've done a nice simple scale on this side, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And I've written also a label, number of customers, number of new customers. But then you just have to carefully plot the items on the grid and just be a little bit aware that every 2 squares is 1 on this side, and every square is 5 on this side. So that goes 5, 10, 15, 20, that would be 25 to give you an idea. So very carefully plot all of the items on the grid. And that's a nice straightforward 3 marks. Don't forget to label it, label your axes, put your scales on and mark your points accurately. Okay. So here, question 5. Misha rows in a team of 8 people and she wanted to compare the mean BMI of the people in the rowing team with the mean BMI of women in the UK. And she uses this formula to calculate her BMI. So it's the weight divided by the height squared. The height is in meters. Always be really careful to look at what units are being given. Okay, so here we're told that Misha has a weight of 73.3 kilograms. Okay, that's in kilograms, and a height of 67 inches. We are going to have to convert this 67 inches to meters. Okay, but we're given a conversion here. 1 inch is 2.54 meters. So I will just scribble over here the conversion. So every inch is 2.54 centimeters, and we've got 67 of them. So 67 times 2.54 is equal to 170.18. Do that in your calculator. Okay, and this is in centimeters. We need to convert that to meters. So there's 100 centimeters in a meter. So we're going to divide that by 100, and that will give us 1.7018 meters. Okay, so that's the height. Just move this up. So we need to put this height into this equation. So we've got the weight, the BMI is equal to the weight over the height squared. So it's equal to 73.3 because that is Misha's weight. And we're going to divide it by 1.7018 squared. And that gives you 25.3097. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make that to 1 decimal place because these are in 1 decimal place. So we've got 25.3. That is her BMI. So the table below shows information about the BMI of people in the rowing team. So we're going to fill in the missing value, 25.3. Okay. The mean BMI of women in the UK is 26.9. Compare the mean BMI of the people in the rowing team with the mean of the BMI women in the UK. So let's have a look at the mean. We always add and divide for the mean. So we need to add all these numbers up. So if you added all those numbers up, 24.8 plus 27.1 plus 25.7 plus 28.3 plus 26.4 plus 25.2 plus 27.6 plus 25.3, then you would get a grand total of something. that when you divide, and then you're going to divide it by 8, because that's how many you've got, and you get an answer of 26.3. So you're going to add up all those numbers. You're going to divide them by 8, because that's how many you've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And what you end up with is an answer of 26.3. So that is the mean for the women on the team. So what we can say is that the BMI of the mean BMI of the rowing team is 26.3, which is less than the UK mean of 26.9. Question 6. Oops, I overshot. Write 3,675,000 in figures. I always like doing these in bits, so I will go, let's have 3 million and get the right number of noughts. Okay, so I've got my 3 million. 675,000. Well, that's 675, and these are my thousands. Oh, and they haven't given me anything else, so that's fine. So then all you have to do is make sure they all line up properly, and it's a lot easier. There you go. 760 grams as a fraction of a kilogram. Right. Got to do a little bit of a conversion here. There are 1,000 grams equals 1 kilogram. So we've got 760 out of 1,000. We could simplify that to 76 over 100. And if you didn't know that 4s went into 76, you could divide it by 2 again. So that would give 38 out of 50, which would give us 19 out of 25. Question 7. Naim looks at the screen time report on his phone. This week, his average screen time per day is 28% greater than his average screen time per day last week. This week, his average screen time per day is 3 hours and 44 minutes. Work out his average screen time per day for last week. So we've got this week's, we know it's 28% more than last week, and we know how long it is. So it's a reverse percentages question. So last week would have been 100%. This week is 28% more. So it's 128%. And we know that's equal to 3 hours 44. Not very easy to deal with 3 hours and 44 minutes, so let's turn it all to minutes. So we've got 3 times 60, because there's 60 minutes in an hour, plus 44, which will give us 180 plus 44, which gives us 224 minutes. So we know that 128% is equal to 224 minutes. So we could work out 1%. So 1% would just be that 224 divided by 128, which gives us 1.75. So now what we need is 100%. So 100%, we've got 1%, we know 1% is 1.75, so it's going to be 1.75. We've got 100 of them, so we're going to times it by 100. So it's equal to 175. minutes. So we can now convert that back into hours. We know 3 hours was 180, so it's not as much as 3 hours. So it's 2 hours, which is 120. 175 take away 120 will leave us with 55 minutes. Two hours, 55 minutes. Right, Frank wants to fit underfloor heating in his system and in his kitchen, and the kitchen is in the shape of a rectangle, and he's got this sketch. Okay, the shaded part shows the part of the floor covered by cabinet bases. Each cabinet has a depth of 600 millimeters, so he's not going to put any cables in this area, grey area there. He needs to leave a gap of 100 millimeters between the base of the cabinets and the part of the floor that he's going to cover. So he needs to add a scruffy diagram, an extra 100 mil all the way around. So we need to find out how big this rectangle is. Okay, so first thing we want to do is we want to convert the millimeters into meters. So there are 1,000 millimeters in a meter, so that is 0.6 meters. And his 100 millimeter gap is going to be 0.1 meters. So what we end up with, this bit is going to be 600 millimeters plus, or 0.6 meters plus the gap in front of the cupboards, which is 0.1. So that's going to be 0.7 total. And then over here, you're going to have a 0.7 on this side as well. So you've got your 0.6 for your cupboards and a 0.1 for the gap and a 0.7 here. So we can work out the area, the length of this side, the length of this side. So the length of this side is going to be the total length, 3.6 minus 0.7 minus 0.7, which is going to give you 2.2 meters. Okay, so that's for the bottom one. And then this side here is going to be 4.5, take away this 0.7 at the top. 0.7 gives you 3.8 meters. So the area, this shaded area in the middle, is going to be 2.2 times 3.8. 2.2 times 3.8, which gives you 8.36 meters squared. So that's how much floor area he needs to cover. He needs to buy a cable pack, and the table shows information about the different sizes of heating packs and the maximum floor area each pack can cover. So if we go down here, 4.2, well, that's too small. 6, that's also too small. 8.4, that's brilliant. His 8.36 is just slightly smaller than that. So he's wants to spend as little as possible. So this is the pack that he's going to buy. Work out the cost of the cable that he needs to buy. So you would put all this working that I've done up here down there, but the cost of the cable is £179.99. You would have to show all the working that I've done up higher up the page. They're asking for a reverse calculation, so I would literally take my 8.36, I would divide it by my 3.8, And the answer to that is 2.2. Just undo one of the calculations that you did earlier, because earlier we had 2.2 times 3.8 equals 8.36. Right. Question 9. Sammy has designed a sweet tin in the shape of a cylinder. The plan and the front elevation of the tin are shown on the centimetre grid below. Okay, there's no scale on the grid, so each one of these squares is a centimetre. You need to find the volume of the sweet tin. So the plan is the view from the top, so you're looking down on it, okay? And the front view is literally as if you're standing on the ground looking at it in front of you. So if you sort of drew it in a 3D format, it would look a little bit like that. And that would be a circle on the top, just to give you an idea. Think of a giant Pringles tube. So the height is that. That's how high it is. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's 8 centimetres. And here is a circle, and it has a radius of 3 centimetres. Okay, so I'm going to draw myself a little picture. I've got my sweet tin. That's 3 centimetres. And it's 8 centimetres high. And they're asking us to find the volume. So, when you're working out a volume of a shape, it's the area of the cross section times by the height. So let's say you had a Toblerone, it would be the area of the triangle times by how much of it you've got, or the height, the length. Okay? So the equation for the area of a circle, area, is pi r squared, which is the same as 3.14 times r times r. So we can work that out. The volume of this would be pi r squared times h. So it's actually going to be 3.14 times r equals 3 centimetres. We said that already. 3 times 3 times the h, which is 8. And we just get an answer of 226.08 centimetres squared. Cubed, because it's volume. Sorry. So volume is cubed. There's your answer. And it even tells you down there. You should put your answer in the box, by the way. But I'm just trying to keep it on the screen. Right. Question 10. Write 15 over 7 as a mixed number. So what we do with this is we say how many 7s go into 15? Well, 1 7 is 7, 2 7s are 14. So the answer is 2 whole ones. And there's 1 7th left over. Always make sure you put your answer in the box. Right, we've got a list of numbers. And they want us to find the median. Well, the median is the middle one once you've put them in order. So the smallest number is -5. Think of a thermometer. The next smallest is -3. Then we've got 0. Then we've got 4. Then we've got 4. And then we've got 6. So to find the median, we need the middle one. So we go, not that one, not that one. And there's 2 left in the middle. So if you've got 2 left in the middle, what you do is you add them together and then you divide by 2 to find out where halfway between the 2 is. So 4 plus 0 equals 4 divided by 2 equals 2. So the median is 2. Question 11. Write 28% as a decimal. Well, a decimal is out of 100, so it's really like 28 out of 100 is 28 divided by 100. So the answer is 0.28. Andrew pays €38.9 for a meal in Spain using his British bank card. The British bank charges a fee for changing currency, and the fee is 2.75% of the amount he pays for the meal, and a pound is €1.127. And you're asked to work out the total amount Andrew pays for the meal and the fee, giving the answer in pounds. So we've got to convert our euros to pounds. So our euros is not the one value. If it said we're going to convert pounds to euros, then we'd times it by the 1.127. But here we're actually going to divide. So we've got 38.9 divided by 1.127. And that gives us 34.516. So, a little check that you can do to check that you've done it the right way is to say, well, my pounds will always need to be less than my euros. So are my pounds in the answer, the 34, less than the 38 that I started out with? So if they are, you've done it the right way. So the next bit is we need to work out what the 2.75% fee is. So, just like we did earlier, it's out of 100, so it's divided by 100, so it's the same as 0.0275. I'm going to times that by the 34.516, and that gives us 0.949. So that's how much fee they're going to pay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add them up. Got 34.516. Finish my rounding later, just so I'm a little bit more accurate. 49. Okay, I'm going to add those together, which gives me 35.465. And at this point, you then want to do your rounding. So it needs to be in pounds. So we've got £35, and we need to see whether that's going to stay as a 6 or move to be a 7. And it's going to be a 7 because the number next to it is a 5. So we're rounding up to 35.47. £35.47. Bilal works for a supermarket. His usual pay is £8.70 per hour. Bilal will work for 7.5 hours this Sunday. The supermarket will pay him time and a half for working on a Sunday. He thinks the supermarket will pay him more than £100 for working this Sunday. Is he correct? And show why you think it. So, he's going to earn time and a half. So his pay is going to be £8.70 per hour times by 1.5. So that's what he was paid plus half. And when you stick that in your calculator, it comes out as £13.05. Okay, and he's going to be working for 7.5 hours. So all we have to do is 7.5 times 13.05, and that gives you 97.875. Okay, so can't have 3 decimals when you're dealing with money, so we're only going to have 2. So he's actually going to be paid £97.88 because that's a 5 or above, so that 7 becomes an 8. So down here we would say No, he earns £97.88. Mina works in a different shop, and the table shows some information about the wages for Bilal and the wages for Mina for the last 6 weeks. Bilal says, my wages were more consistent than Mina's wages for the last 6 weeks. Were Bilal's wages more consistent than Mina's? And give a reason for your answer. Well, range is a measure of consistency. So all we need to do is work out the range, which is the highest minus the lowest for Bilal and Mina. So the highest here is 283.94 and the lowest is 186.32. So B's range is 283.94, take away 186.32, and that gives us £97.62. Mina's range, look for the highest, that's £308.71, and the lowest is £126.40. So we've got 308.71 take away 126.40, and that gives us £182.31. Okay, so Bilal's wages are more consistent. So we'll have a yes in there. Bilal's ranges are more consistent. And you'd write this in the box down below, but I'm writing it here so you can see it. Because his range of wages is £97.62, which is lower than, a bit of an essay here, Mina at £182.31. And you would put that in this box down here. Right, fantastic. That is the end of the paper. I hope you enjoyed that. If you spot any mistakes, let me know. See you again next time.